We're back out here at the Big Lake once again, and today we're talking about how you keep leaving bites out on the water every single time you go fishing. Let's see if we can't fix that. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. There we go, I got him. On the Waco rig. Ooh. That's a nice one. That's a nice one, kids. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and today we're talking about how we as anglers have a tendency to leave bites out on the water every time we go fishing. We don't get all the bites we would like, or all the bites we possibly could whenever we go fishing. Now, how important that is to you all depends on how seriously you take bass angling. If you're just going out, to kill some time, to have some peace and quiet, to get out to nature, to have some fun, that may not be that big of a deal. But when I go, I'm looking to catch as many fish as I can, the biggest fish that I can. I take it rather seriously. And if you're like me, and I got a feeling you are, which is why you're watching this video, then you want to catch as many fish as you can. You want to eliminate all the mistakes. You want to eliminate all the holes in your game and be the best angler you can possibly be. Well, let's take this morning, for example. I was checking the weather reports, I was checking the lake map, and I was looking at the best possibilities to put myself on fish. And it's been really busy out here. It's been really crowded out here, especially now that summer has kicked in, school has let out. So even during the middle of the week, you're going to have a bunch of anglers. You're going to have more kids out on the water. They're just going to be out here having fun, and that's fine. But as a bass angler, I'm going to have to take that into consideration. So I look for the parts of the lake that nobody else is going to fish. The parts of the lake that I fish, well, they are very choked with hydrilla. Obviously, the entire lake has a lot of hydrilla in it, but the places that I'm fishing really don't get much more than 6 or 7 feet deep, and you can see that hydrilla coming right to the surface. A lot of guys, they just don't want to fish that. So that basically is off-limits area to them. That's the out-of-bounds zone. To me, that's right where I'm headed. That is the beeline I'm going to make. That is virgin waters. Those are the types of places that I specifically seek out, and those are the places that I'm looking for. I want to fish where the other guys won't go, because you can bet that's where the bass are, especially pressured bass. Pressured bass, well, they don't just sit in one spot. They have a tendency to move away from fishing pressure. Studies have shown this. This has been something that has been shown, especially on a recent study that was done on Toledo Bend that was actually quite surprising, where we saw that bass will move quite a ways. They will migrate quite a ways to get away from fishing pressure. So a lot of those fish, they don't even see a lure a lot of times. Those are the fish that I'm looking for. So knowing that, I'm looking at the map this morning, I'm drinking my coffee, and I decide this is what I'm going to rig. It's going to be a slower presentation type of day. Obviously, I'm not going to be ripping a square bill through thick hydrilla mats. I mean, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it. So the first thing I have tied on is my jig rod, right? I've got the Hack Attack fluoro jig. This is a short shank jig with a great big hook on it, and you can see I've got a Gambler Boxer Craw as a trailer in that Magic Craw color. This has been money, so I figured I can flip under that brush with this, and I can drag a jig, and I always have good results whenever I can go that route. So also, obviously, I've got another jig. This is a Denny Brower structure jig from Strike King. This has got a nice wide fat archy style head. I can use this for skipping right up under that brush. This is not going to be something that I'm going to be coming through the hydrilla with so much because, well, it doesn't do so good with that wide fat head. That's like a slice of pizza. It'll get hung up on it pretty good. But you know, for flipping and skipping up under brush and up under laydowns and stuff like that, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I've got a 3-inch Berkeley Pit Boss under here, and I think that's the watermelon candy or the green pumpkin candy. It's some kind of color like that. But I have that red in that skirt, and that's kind of the presentation I was going for today. So you can tell, you know, there's a pattern here that I'm looking for. Now, if you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you know this guy, the wacky jig or the stupid rig. This is just a bitsy bug jig that I've taken the skirt off of it and I've wacky rigged a worm to it. This is just a June bug yumdinger. It's something that works really good. It's a faster fall than a, you know, even a NACO rig, but it still has a really good flap on it on the way down. It works great. I can fish that tight undercover. I can also skip this in places I want to go. So it gives me a little bit slower presentation. So that's something else that I was looking for. Now, lastly, well, I've got this guy right here, and this is, you know, the Waco rig, right? I know you guys are sick and tired of me harping on this thing, but I wanted to catch fish today. This is what I've been catching them on, and I, you know, wanted to have all my bases covered. I have a 3/4 ounce jig, a 1/2 ounce jig, a 1/4 ounce jig for the bitsy bug, which I'm using for the stupid rig or the wacky jig, and then I've got this for my ultimate finesse presentation. So that is what I had tied on today. That's what I was looking to accomplish. I knew it was going to be a flipping and pitching kind of day out here in the Big Lake, as it often is. Right now, for me at least, is not when I break out my crankbaits and go to town. That's in the early spring, and that's also going to be as we approach fall, especially as that fishing pressure dies down. But right now, I'm just interested in going where those other guys are not fishing. And this is the middle of the week. When I got here, there was 8 boats already out in this little pocket that I wanted to fish. I went right around them and I headed north, basically to no man's land. And, well, I started fishing the jig. I started skipping the jig around, and this is what happened. All right, we're going to put a hurting on these fish today, kids. We are just now getting out here, and I'm starting with everybody's favorite. Well, if you remember the channel, if you're a friend of the channel, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know about this guy right here. Boy, we've got some flooded conditions today. That's the wacky jig. We got the wacky jig tied on, and that's what we're going to be fishing to begin with. See where the current wants to take us. See if we can do some skipping up underneath this brush. We have got some flooded brush, and that didn't skip at all, but that's okay. But I've got a June bug worm on there on the old wacky jig on a 1/4 ounce bitsy bug head. I may actually change that to a 3/16. I mean, let's take a look and see what we got in the water. Well, it's got a pretty good fall to it, But we are going to get way up tight up under this brush today, kids. We are going to get way up tight under this brush. The point of today's escapades is to fish those bites that a lot of anglers are leaving behind. To fish those bites, to fish those areas that a lot of anglers are not fishing. A lot of guys don't want to get up under this stuff like we do. You know, I don't know if you have that on your fishery, but if you do, you know, fish under it, get up under there. Don't be afraid to cast in there. You know, it helps to have casting accuracy. It helps to make sure that your casts are on point. This is true. But the only way you're going to get that casting accuracy is through practice. You know, that's how we're gonna, that's just all there is to it. You gotta be able to get your bait in places other guys can't. Let the current push us along. Kind of make skips up under this brush. Just kind of feeling along that bottom there. See, this is the stuff that a lot of guys are avoiding. This beautiful stuff right here, okay? We've got bluebird skies out here. Well, it's not bluebird skies, but we've got sunny skies out here. A little bit of cloud cover, but for the most part, I mean, we've got sunny skies, and those fish, they're going to be holding tight to shade. I'm fishing these shade lines. I'm fishing up under this brush. That's where those nice girls are going to be. They're going to be in that nasty, gnarly stuff right there. And you've got to be able to get in there and get to them. So I'm using the right gear for the job. Come on, got gunk on my junk. Gunk on my junk. And you cannot be afraid to get your stuff a little dirty. You can't be afraid to play in the bushes, as it were. You know, I mean, that's where these get out of there. Get out of there, you. And that's what I'm doing. I'm skipping up into that, skipping my jig up under that brush. Hello, bird. Just kind of dragging it along. They are up under there. They're not kind of, sort of. I mean, you can try to fish the edge if you want to, but those fish are, come on, get off of that. Those fish are in there. You've got to get in there after them. And again, I'm just trying to use the current. We've got like 8 boats. I turned around and I see like 8 boats behind me. Okay, so I didn't get anything so much on the jig. Had a couple bites here and there, a couple little dings, nothing even worth recording, nothing that I'm really proud of. But it let me know that was still too fast of a presentation. That fall rate was quicker than those bass were ready to commit to. So I switched over to the Waco rig. And once I did, well, that's when I really started putting myself on fish. All the nice fish that I caught today, the 1.5 pounds, the 2 pounds, the 2.5 pound fish, all of those that I caught today, well, I caught those on the Waco rig. And I did it by identifying shade lines, identifying hard edges, and looking for the high productive areas, the high percentage areas within those spots. I see a shade line, I follow it down, I see a laydown sticking out of that shade line, and that's going to be the kind of place that I'm going to be casting to. I see a shade line, I'm seeing flooded brush, but I'm seeing openings and pockets in that flooded brush. I can skip a bait up under there, no problem. Those are going to be the types of places that I'm working as I'm going down. And I can almost call my shots now. I can almost say, okay, if I skip under there, I bet you there's a fish. And a lot of times there is, because I've dedicated myself to doing that. I'm all in on fishing that, because I'm trying my best not to leave any bites out on the water. Come on. Caught a big old hunk of vegetation on that. Big old hunk of vegetation. Alright. That was about as lucky of a cast as I'm ever going to make. This boat is wanting to turn backwards. I've got to turn it this way. It's got to turn this way. You've got to face the brush. You've got to face this way. Gotta have it. There we go. I got him. On the Waco rig. Ooh. That's a nice one. That's a nice one, kids. No, you're not going in that grass. Ooh. You are going in that grass. Where are you going? That's a better fish. Get up here. That's a better fish, kids. And that's what we were talking about. Did you choke it? Oh, alright, well. Got him right in the roof of the mouth. So we know what these girls want. There we are. We know what these kids want. A little north of 2 pounds. Let me go ahead and weigh it. Let's see what this fish weighs, just to be sure. Could be only about 1.5 pounds. I never can tell, so we're going to weigh it. We're going to be sure. Yep, 1.72. That's a better fish. We like those. Come here, buddy. 1.72. Chilling it on the Waco rig. You know, it's hard to fish anything else when that Waco rig is catching so many fish for me. Make sure I'm actually recording. Appreciate it, appreciate it. Oop, there he goes. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now, it's not glamorous, and it's sure not sexy, but I am catching fish. And that's something that a lot of anglers, well, that's a hang up that they have, right? We've heard it said before, you've got to throw what the fish want to bite, not what you want to throw. And that's a problem a lot of time for anglers. That's one of the biggest reasons they're leaving bites out on the water, is because, well, for lack of a better term, they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to get their lures dirty. And I guess I can understand that. I mean, if you're paying $25, $30 for a mega bass jerkbait, and, you know, that's not something that I would do, but whatever, you know, that's what you do, that's what you like, you don't want to lose it. And this water right here is not really conducive to a jerkbait bite right now. It's not that jerkbait bites are bad. I mean, jerkbait bites are good all year round, but there's just not many opportunities where you can fish a jerkbait out here and not get it gummed up all in hydrilla. So there is that. And guys know that. So they're staying out in the middle of the lake, they're staying out in the deeper water, and they're throwing jerkbaits, and they're throwing square bills, and they're throwing things that, you know, deep diving crankbaits. They're throwing all these fast moving baits. But none of these fish are biting that. And you can even watch. I'm watching these fish bust up on shad, and you can see it roll along the top of the water as it goes all over the place, as these bass have got these bait balls built up, and they're just pecking at them. You can throw whatever bait you want in there. You're not getting a bite. I've tried repeatedly to do that. I've thrown spinner baits, chatter baits, weightless flukes. I've tried everything that I could think of, and I've not ever gotten a bite doing that. So I know the fish, well, I know they're hiding out under flooded cover, especially when we've got bluebird skies. A lot of guys are going to avoid bluebird skies. That's going to be the days that they're not fishing. I have no problem fishing bluebird skies, because for me, that just makes my job easier. I know those fish are going to be under that flooded brush, which is where I'm going to be fishing anyway. So a lot of times, like I said before, you have to think, where are those bass going to be? What type of mood are they going to be when I get there? So you locate the bass. Now you've got to locate what it is that they want. And then you can dial it in even more, like right to a particular color, what it is that they like. And those are the types of things that will ensure that we maximize the total number of bites that we get during the day. It's not just about being adaptable. Sometimes it's about being hard-headed. It really is. Sometimes it's about going to the nastiest, dirty spots and just saying, this is where I'm going to fish because that's where the fish are. And I'm not really catching dinks. I mean, I caught a couple of dinks today, but for the most part, I'm catching really nice fish. And I don't want to leave, like whenever I pull my boat out of the water and I get ready to head to the house for the day, I want to be confident in the fact that I got as many bites that day as I could. I don't want to leave thinking, I should have done this, I should have done that. Maybe if I'd have thrown this color, maybe if I would have thrown that color. Because those are the types of things that cause us to second guess and doubt how we want to fish. Stick to your guns. Fish what you know is going to work. It doesn't have to be sexy. It doesn't have to be classy. It doesn't have to be any of those things. But to the fish, it might be just exactly what they're looking for. So there you have it. Sometimes we need to get our hands a little dirty. Sometimes we need to go away from the action. And sometimes we need to totally rethink how it is that we're fishing when we're out on the lake. A lot of times we need to adjust our presentations or even adjust what we're throwing because those bass might be in a particular mood. And if we don't play by their rules, then we're going to be the ones who are missing out. And that's a really terrible feeling to know you could have gotten more bites than you did. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.